how are you today? Good to be with you. Today is Green Chair Friday, where I sit and it's unedited, raw David Burns answering questions that we didn't get to last night on the live stream. And the live stream went really fast last night. We had a lot of participants in the live stream and we had a lot of questions, and I want to get into those today. Thanks for joining me today, guys. It's always good to be with you. And again, this is unedited, me just firing through your questions. And some of you even left some donations. And Larry, start off, I want to say thanks, Larry, for becoming a member of my YouTube channel. A lot of you have joined my YouTube channel membership. This is different than most of the other things like B-Team. It's different than B-Team 6. It's different than subscribing. I do appreciate you subscribing so much, but channel membership is your way of supporting my channel. You can support it by being a Nectar Novice or a Beak Squad Ambassador. Just always look at the bottom below each video. You'll see a join button and you can read more about it. I made a video and I appreciate it. So thanks for joining, Larry. Eric starts off, our new nuke started on June the 17th here in Colorado. I fed the bees 1-to-1 sugar water and pollen patties fairly regularly and added a second deep using the 7/10 rule. So yeah, sounds like it's off to a good start. 7/10 rule. 7/10 rule, I assume, means when you have 7 frames out of 10, you put the next box on. Medium super was drawn out quickly with extra wax rolled on. That's good to hear. When and how much should I feed them during the dearth if they are already doing pretty well? Should I add another medium super with added wax? Thanks. Eric, that's a good question. Sounds like your nuke is off to a good start. It sounds like you've got 2 deeps already going. Medium super was drawn out quickly when you added extra wax to it. And as to how much you should really feed during a dearth, you know what? I am never afraid of feeding too much in a dearth. I'm really not. You know, the hive is doing good as long as they have room to lay good brood. And as long as things are kind of going well, I keep feeding them. I've noticed that my bees really don't take more than they need in a dearth. And so I just kind of keep feed on top of them with my Burns feeder boards on top. And those feeder boards are just being so purchased. There are so many beekeepers buying those right now to feed their bees in a dearth. And I always do like feeding from the top. That's how I design these boards. Don't feed in the entrance in the fall. It can induce robbing. So I would just hold course. I don't know if I would add another super on there. It doesn't sound like in Colorado that they would have much luck, you know, putting honey up there this time of the year, especially if you're facing some dearths. The mag. When is it a good time to remove an entrance reducer? It's been, I answered this one last night. I remember answering this one, so I'm going to skip that. Yeah, that was one of the first ones I answered. During the hive inspection last Saturday, I answered that one too. This is raw and unedited. And so these are the ones that I was given that were starred that they didn't get to, but I guess they forgot to remove some of these. All right, here's one I didn't answer. I got 2 queens in the mail today. Will they survive in the wooden cage until Saturday? Should I drip water in with the attendants and queens? Okay, Lewis, that's a good question. So when you buy a queen, they're always going to be mated for the most part. So it sounds like you bought 2 mated queens. They arrived in probably a 3-hold cage. And I would say that, I don't know what day. I guess you got them on Thursday. If you said I got them in the mail today. That's when we did our live stream. So you're asking Friday, Saturday, will they be okay in the cage? It kind of depends on how early they put those queens in the cage. Was it a month ago? You know, I'm just being, outrageously exaggerating here, but I don't know. I would say they would last till Saturday. Now, some of the workers I've noticed, the attendants, we call them attendants because we try to put young workers in there to feed the queen, but sometimes they do die. And what you want to do by giving them a little bit of water is run your finger under your faucet, like at your sink, and then take your finger and just rub it across the screen on the queen cage. Don't put too much water on there. Just a little bit on the screen will help them. I'm saying your chances of that queen lasting till Saturday in that cage is very favorable. I think you'll do good. June bug, should I put my solid bottom board back on the hive for winter? That's a philosophy that depends on where you live. I have no idea where you live on the planet. So here in Illinois, it gets really cold, and I have about maybe 80% of my hives with open screen bottom boards, 20% with solid bottom boards. And I really don't see a difference. I really don't. So, but again, that's really up to you and what your philosophy is in overwintering. That's something I encourage all beekeepers to do, by the way, is I think you should really do your own little experiments each winter and try one with an open screen, one with a solid bottom board, and see which one does better. Some people think it all depends on your bottom board, whether or not your hive survives winter. This is not a real strong factor. It really isn't. A very healthy colony has a strong chance of surviving winter with either a screen bottom board or a solid bottom board. It's only when we get into a weak and malnutrition hive that we start worrying about not getting them through the winter. And sometimes a screen bottom board could cause them to not have enough heat, maybe. So again, I just keep all my colonies strong, and I don't really pay much attention to the bottom board that much. Yeah. Okay, I want to thank Mark, Brian, and WNS and Marcy for your donations. That was very nice of you to donate during the live stream. We may not have got those posted last night. So anytime that you're watching my live stream, there's a place you can make a donation. And I always appreciate that. So I want to say thank you. That's been the history of all live streams. People that watch live streams like to support the cause. And I appreciate that. We live way out in the middle of nowhere. And so we can't get internet. We can't get wired internet. We can't get any kind of internet. So we have to use a special business plan, and we use a business plan through Starlink. And we pay roughly around $300 a month for our internet. So we couldn't do live streams without that sort of internet. So anytime that you guys make a donation, it does help us pay the bills. So we do appreciate it. Doug, how can you tell if a hive has died out or absconded? Found my hive empty today, maybe 20 bees total. They burned through an entire full super in the last couple of weeks or loaded it up when they left. Okay, that is really interesting. Sounds like you lost your hive with the exception of 20 bees. Sometimes this is what happens. Here's how to diagnose that. I would look on the floor of the hive to see if you see a lot of wax debris, a lot of crumbs of wax. And that's an indication, if you ever see that, that your hive was robbed out by another colony. Sometimes what happens, Doug, is that another colony will fly into your hive in mass number, and they'll burn through, they'll just destroy the cappings of that honey you've said that they burned through in the last couple of weeks. So it could have been they were robbed out, and there's a lot of fighting that goes on when there's robbing, and it could be that they killed a large number of your bees. And also I've noticed and I've read where bees that are robbed out, those bees that are being robbed will just go back with the hive that's robbing them. And so that could be what happened. Now, if you want to know the difference between, absconding and a hive that's dying out, if you're good about going into your hive and looking, every 2 weeks, then you'll see a problem starting to happen. And so you won't be surprised. Absconding, you're surprised, right? Because you've been looking at your hive, it's been going well, and all at once, the next 2 weeks you go out there and, they're gone. And that's how you know it's absconding. But if you see a slow decrease of population and you see things going, less and less brood, the queen's not laying good, that's when the hive is failing. I would check that out. And sometimes bees do abscond this time of the year. I remember I was going to take a hive out of a large hive out of a house many years ago. And I went and assessed it and thought, I said, okay, we'll be back on in a couple of days to remove it. Went back in a couple of days, they were gone. I mean, they left tons of honey, and they just up and left. And it wasn't anything that could be noticed why they left like that. They just up and absconded. By the way, if you're new to the phrase absconding, that means that all the bees will leave a hive. That's different than swarming. Swarming is when half the colony leaves with the old established queen. They raise a new queen and keep going. Absconding means they just up and leave. And it's really not the beekeeper's fault. No one really knows why they do that. They're just wild animals that decide they want to live somewhere else, I guess. Joshua, is it too late to split a really strong hive? Oh, I answered that one last night too. All right, let me look at these. I should have done a little more proofreading ahead of time, I guess, which ones, but I grabbed the starred comments, so let's see. All right, I answered that one. All right. Here's one I didn't answer. Thank you for your videos and priceless information that you pass to all of us. I have a question. When is the best time to pull out the medium boxes from the hive? Pull out the medium boxes. I'm guessing that what you're asking is the medium boxes are your honey supers. You maybe have deeps for your brood box, and you're wondering when's the best time to remove the medium boxes. And so I don't know whether they're capped over with honey. So if they are capped over, that's the best time to remove them. Remove your capped over honey supers. They might be above a queen excluder, may not be. Remove those, harvest the honey, and then if it's getting closer into fall and winter, I wouldn't put them back on. They're empty. It's not a good idea. If they're not filled up, you don't really specify. But if they're not filled up, I think I would then go ahead and just remove them as we get closer to winter. As I read this again, when's the best time to pull out the medium boxes from the hive? I thought you meant when's the best time to get them pulled out, but then you said from the hive. So I'm thinking you want to remove them. Yep. So yeah, if they're not drawn out, if they're not doing good, if they're not filled up, then you are going to have to remove those if they don't have any stored nectar or honey up there before winter. I don't like my bees to go into winter with empty boxes above them. I really don't. I think the cluster is going to move up into those empty boxes with no food up there and kind of be stuck and get hungry unless you put the winter bee kind boards on there. And of course, I like to do that. But I'd rather my bees have a full super above the brood nest area, even when I feed them my winter bee kind boards. Yep. All right, let me see if I've read this one yet. Here we go. Mike, what's the latest to try to trap swarms in Northwest Ohio? And would they winter in a nuclear, I guess you mean nucleus, or should they be placed into double deeps as soon as caught? Yeah, a lot of you are asking me this question, and I'm going to be honest with you. Right now, we're done with trying to grow bees. We really are. I think no matter where you live, it's going to be hard to grow bees. We grow bees in the spring all the way through maybe the first half of summer. And by grow, I mean making a split, catching swarms and all. The best way that you can track this, by the way, is what do the bees do? This is the good thing that beekeepers really need to get in their toolbox, is when we raise queens, for example, we have the best luck raising queens when bees raise queens, and that's always in the spring when they're swarming. So if we get on their cycle, then our bees are going to be much better off. Do bees make their own splits called a swarm this time of the year? Absolutely not. Does it occasionally happen? It does. It's kind of odd, but it's not the main event when bees reproduce and make swarms. They split themselves in the spring. So when we try to do it, late summer, mid to late summer, bees aren't doing it, and they know better. So I think if we get on their seasons, then we're going to have a lot better luck. So yeah, I wouldn't ever try to make a split. I don't think I would ever try to catch swarms this late in the year. If you did catch a swarm, like you have swarm traps out there, and it just so happens you look and there's bees in it, then you're going to really have to hustle. If you want that to be a large colony in just a month or two before, you know, fall, it's just not going to happen. If it does, it's going to be really rare. And the other thing is, what most of us would do is take that swarm that we caught and use it to strengthen a very weak colony. And so we could use a newspaper combination trick, put newspaper between a weak colony and let the swarm become part of that colony. So I would use my swarms caught this late to strengthen my weak colonies. Hey, Bonnie. Good to see you, Bonnie. How do you tell the difference between pollen and bee bread? I get this question asked a lot, and it's so simple. Bee bread is always going to look gooey, kind of greasy or wet pollen. And regular pollen is not going to appear wet or greasy, gooey looking. It's going to appear dry in the cells. That's the best way to look at it. I've made many videos where I show video examples of the difference between pollen and bee bread. But bee bread is going to look like pollen, but it's going to be wet looking. And for the most part, I've noticed mine is always kind of a darker color. I guess I have seen lighter color bee bread, but most of the time it's more of a rusty color bee bread, and I'm not sure why that is. May just be the pollen source at the time they're making bee bread. Titus, hi David, is there any science or reasoning to small hive beetles in the in-row hives? I heard that from a big beekeeper, and now I just found my first small hive beetle of the year in only 2 of my 8 hives. In rows of, like I'm assuming you have a bunch of hives in a row, and you're saying that you've seen small hive beetle more in the in rows. I've seen that too. I remember working with a commercial beekeeper, and that same thing happened. We noticed on the in row, now there's 4 on a pallet in commercial beekeeping, but we noticed that one of the hives on that outside pallet on the in row was slimed. It was totally trashed. And the commercial beekeeper came up to us and said, okay, let's tear that apart, shake the bees out, and throw all of that equipment on the burn pile. And it was on the outside row. Maybe it's easy for the small hive beetle to access that. Being on the in row like that is pretty congested downstream. I don't know if that really makes a big difference, but maybe it's easier to get to that for small hive beetle. But I wouldn't really bank on that too much. Small hive beetles can really fly into any weak colony. That's an interesting observation though. Yeah, I agree. Jeff, I'm an older guy with weak eyes. I use wax foundation, not black. I can't see eggs to save my life. What can you recommend? Bright flashlight, magnifying glass, what works? Oh yeah, Jeff, I understand that. You don't have to be an old guy to have weak eyes. You know, sometimes as you get older, or even when you're young, some people are farsighted. They just can't see up close. But obviously, it depends on whether you're farsighted or nearsighted. But if you're farsighted, I think you can get some reader glasses, and I assume you've tried all that. You can go to Dollar General someplace and buy 3.50 reader glasses. I'm wearing reader glasses right now. And so, yeah, the more powerful your reader glasses are, the more you're going to see those eggs. Now, if that's beyond what you can do, then you can try to take pictures of the brood with your camera, and you can play around with that. Take a frame out and carry it someplace with eggs on it, or you think there's eggs. Move it out to a picnic table away from the hive where you can set it up. Bees will calm down when that frame is away from the hive by many yards. And then you can sit there and take pictures of it. And then with your camera, you can zoom in on the pictures and you can see if you're seeing eggs in there. You can wear jeweler glasses. I do that sometimes when I'm working on my bikes or looking up serial numbers that are tiny and you can't read them. You know, there's all sorts of things. Always when you're looking at a frame, hold it with the sun coming over your back, over your shoulders, and let the sun shine into that frame. That's going to light up what's in the back of those cells. And those are some suggestions that really helps me. And I know it's harder to see those eggs as you get older, for sure. But yeah, magnifying glass will work. Take a picture with your cell phone. Reader glasses that are much more high powered than you need just to help out. Good ideas there, Jeff. So let us know how that works out if you find something that works. All right. Another thing though, Jeff, you know, here's something else. You'll notice on some of my videos, I have a hat and a veil. I don't have it with me now, but I cut the mesh out and I glued in a piece of thin plastic. That way I'm not looking through black mesh and trying to see eggs. I'm looking through like these. I'm looking through clear. And so you want to watch that video, look through my channel, and you might be able to see that video how I made that. That helps tremendously to look through a clear piece of plastic rather than a black mask, a veil. Yeah. All right. Cindy, one of my hives had a fabulous laying queen and they swarmed early this year. Pretty typical of a high-powered queen laying a lot of eggs. I've caught and hived the swarm, lots of bees. Is there time for them to build up enough before winter? Let's see. Do you say when earlier? Oh, earlier this week. Ooh. Cindy, I don't know where you live. I don't know whether you live in Alabama, Dominican Republic, Mexico, Canada, New Hampshire, New Jersey. You can see my dilemma here. I don't know where you live, but I'm going to say you live in Illinois just because I need to pick some spot to answer the question. In Illinois, if I caught a swarm now, back to the original question that I asked or that I answered, and that would be, I would rather combine a swarm with a weak colony right now. And that way I have drawn frames from the weak colony. I've got already some existing resources, perhaps, or some brood, and I would kill the queen in the weak hive, use the queen in the swarm hive, and then let them be combined with a newspaper. That's what I would do. I just don't think I would really try to see if I could get swarms going this late in the year. Yeah. What do you do to keep the comb from falling off the top bar of your top bar hive when it's hot? Interesting. I don't hear a lot of people talk about top bar hives anymore. Wow, good to meet you. Good to see you have a top bar hive. A top bar hive, for those of you that don't know what that is, usually it's a horizontal hive, and instead of having frames in it, it just simply has a bar across the top. It looks a lot like it's kind of like a Land's hive, but Land's hive have frames in them. But anyway, it's got the top bars only. There's no side bars to the frame. There's no foundation to the frame. You just lay a top bar in there and you pray and hope that your bees will attach a comb to that bar. Now the bars are usually got a little triangle shape angle to them to entice the bees, and sometimes we coat that with wax. I've ran top bar hives and I've made videos of me running top bar hives. I was on a major news network with cameras in a top bar hive. And then you're hoping that they'll draw that out. Mine did really well with it. Now, if you can't get them to draw it out, or in your case, it keeps falling off, that's the tricky part. Let me ask you a question. I think it's important to ask because there's a proper way to handle a top bar frame. The top bar frame, once it's drawn out onto the top bar, when you pick it up, I can't really do it a good demonstration, but let's pretend I'm picking it up. A lot of times people will pick it up and look at it like this, like they do the traditional Langstroth frame. And if you do that, it will break off the top bar. There's too much weight back here, and the only thing that's holding it is right there at the top. Boom, it just breaks and falls off. So to do it properly, you always keep it vertical. You pick it up, you rotate it like this, and you hold it vertically so it doesn't have any tension on it, and you look at it and you look at the other side. So I want to make sure you're not handling that top bar frame incorrectly. But when it's hot, I don't think it would fall off in the hive when it's hot. That would surprise me because the bees usually are pretty good about attaching it. Mine usually get attached to the wall of the top bar for added strength, but we have to cut that off to look at it, right? And so that is going to jeopardize the structure. I could see it falling off if it's full of honey and it's suspended just off that top bar. There are top bar people, I'm sure, watching that have better suggestions than I do. I've only ran one for a few years. I'm not real experienced with them that much. I did it so I could get experience. I'm a certified master beekeeper, and I believe all certified master beekeepers should really get familiar with all types of hives. I think they should know. That's just my personal opinion. It's David Burns raw in a green chair on a Friday, but if you're a certified master beekeeper, you're kind of saying to the world that I know everything there is to know about beekeeping for the most part. And I would hate to be asked questions on a top bar hive and not have any management skills to relay to a new beginner that's using those. So that's why I have a lot of different kind of hives. I have a Layens hive, I've got a round hive, I've got Apiary, which are just Langstroths, but I've got horizontal Langstroth. What else do I have? I've got the Nuke Keeper's hive, got the Flow hive so I could get familiar with it. And I have a new Slovenian hive that I don't have bees in it yet. I'm going to be working with another beekeeper to get that going so I can become familiar with the AZ hive. So I think every master beekeeper needs to know that. So that's why I bought a Flow hive a decade or 2 decades ago and played with it just to get familiar with it. So I will say it doesn't suit me well. Now everybody has a right to that some things just don't fit, right? I mean, there's some people that wear blue jeans and some people wear slacks. It doesn't mean either of them are wrong or bad. I'm just saying it doesn't suit me to run a flow or to run a top bar hive. I don't get them through winter well, and horizontal hives are hard for me to overwinter where I live. I don't live in the South. I don't live in Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Florida, where the winters are a lot easier. I don't live there. So my bees have to have a lot of bees in there, a lot of food on board, make it through the prairie, cold prairie. So top bar hives, I guess we're going to have to ask somebody that's watching that may be an expert in top bar hives why things keep falling off and what you can do to get that not to happen. Cody, how are you doing? This year, small hive beetle have been numerous. I've used Swiffer sheets continuously and some oil traps. The number of beetles has stayed high. The hives are in sunlight as well. I live in Virginia. Any suggestions? Hey, Cody, good to see you again. Thanks for coming to our live stream audience. You and Jazz, really appreciate having you guys. There's some years, I'm afraid some years small hive beetle are just tough. I've had my share of years where small hive beetles just frustrated me. I'd open up a hive and see hundreds. I've had some of the mating nooks, maybe 1 or 2 mating nooks in the years past. Not this year, but in the years past, I've had a few mating nooks that got slimed by a small hive beetle. But my big hives, I've never lost a big hive to small hive beetle, but I've had so many in there, it's staggering. I know what you're going through is not fun at all. Sometimes it's just hard to stay ahead of it. I don't have any good suggestions other than what I usually say, Cody, keep a strong colony. And if there's any way possible, we really need to trap small hive beetle, kill small hive beetle early in the year. Because I've made 2 videos, really thorough videos, on how fast small hive beetles can grow and all about them. So you got to stay ahead of it. Kill every one that you see quickly. Don't let one get by. You just can't risk one. And then if you have them where they get ahead of you like that, you're almost fighting a losing battle since they reproduce so badly now in more humid weather. And that's the thing. Have you tried Gardex on the ground? Or that's not, oh, Grubex, yeah. Grubex on the ground. you know, Guard Star is a treatment for small hive beetle where you treat the soil. That stuff is pretty potent, be careful. But there are methods you can use, and I don't know if you've pursued everything, but just staying ahead of it. And then if you get behind, boy, if you get behind, it's like pushing a chain up the hill. It really is. I mean, it's like herding cats if you get behind on small hive beetle. No matter how hard you try, you know, you kill 40 today, there's 50 tomorrow. I mean, where they come from. It's frustrating. Oh. Laura, how are you doing? Do you feed every day during the dearth? Absolutely, I do. Every day during a dearth. I feed as long as they take it. I keep feed on there. Now, they'll slow down sometimes in taking it if they don't need it, but I always want it to be on there. Absolutely. Pamela, I have 3 hives and started feeding a week ago. They're now eating 4 quarts a day per hive. Is that normal? That's a gallon per hive a day. Is that normal? I'm not going to say who knows what's normal, but I will say it's not unusual at all. Mine aren't eating that much at all right now. They're not. They're eating about maybe a quart every 2 days, but it sounds like yours are desperately starving. So I would like to know, Pamela, what's the inside of the hive look like? You know, do an inspection. Are they putting it in comb? Do they have stored honey? If you open up the hive and you see a lot of open comb that doesn't have resources in it, yeah, they need that. They're using it right now to support themselves. But if they already have a bunch of stored capped over honey, a bunch of nectar in there, a bunch of brood in there, it is puzzling why they would use a gallon a day. Make sure nothing's leaking, dripping out excessively and just going, you know, dripping out of the hive. Make sure your jars are tight. I wouldn't worry about it. If they're eating it, I'd let them eat it. Don't let them get honey bound or nectar bound, but I'd let them keep eating it, yeah. Tom, I had a swarm move into my old neglected hives. They're very gentle. I know the time will come when the queen has to go. How can I keep the genetics of these bees? Yeah, Tom, very easy answer for you there. Graft. Let's see. I could still raise queens now because I have drones. And so you could just take eggs from the queen that you love so much in that hive and then graft them and raise your own queens right now. You got time to do it. That's the best way to do it. Mr. Allen, my queen died on July the 12th. I'm sorry to hear that. I've allowed them to raise their own queen until yesterday. She has not mated when I inspected. July 12th, you're not going to have her laying eggs until, I wouldn't worry about it until August the 12th. It takes about 30 days from when they raise the queen until a new queen starts laying. It could be sometimes a week earlier, 21 days, but not really. You know, it takes 16 days from the egg until the queen emerges. It takes another week for her to take a mating flight. It takes another week for her to lay eggs. So you're up to 30 days. Yeah. How long should I give her? Oh, I'm sorry, I cut your comment off. I would give her until around August the 15th. August the 15th, drop back in there, and you should see eggs and larvae, maybe cap pupae. Here's the deal with that, Mr. Allen, is that sometimes we don't like to let our colonies raise their own queens if they're low in brood population. But if you got a lot of bees right now and you got a lot of resources and you got a lot of stages of brood, you know, if she died on the 12th, that means the last eggs were laid on the 12th of July, right? And so you're getting kind of far away, deeper into the brood cycle. In that case, boy, I think you're going to just have some capped over pupae now. But that's okay. You're going to be able to break the queen's brood cycle by letting them raise their own, and that's going to cut down your mite population. So that's going to be a little help there. Yeah, but you're going to have to wait until about August the 15th. I've mixed up my pages here. Let's keep going. Question, is there a difference between waxed boxes and painted other than looks? I'm going to say I've never done a study on latex, exterior latex painted boxes versus wax boxes. So personally, I don't know. But the concept, I'll tell you the concept of wax boxes. You dip them in hot wax, what is it, 300 and something degrees, leave them in there 10 minutes or something. And all of that wax, it's so hot that it supposedly gets rid of the moisture in the wood and it's replaced by the wax. And so there are claims that it lasts forever once you do that. But I've had some people tell me they've waxed their boxes and it wasn't good for them. They didn't last long after that. I've had that, but I would think they'd last forever. I really do. I think that would be a great way to do it. It's a little dangerous. I mean, 300 degrees, 300 plus degrees. It's a lot of work. You have to buy equipment. You have to spend money on propane, gas, and all this different kind of wax. The wax balance has to be just right too. You just don't want to use pure beeswax. You got to balance it with all the different types of wax that you're supposed to put in there. So it's a big effort. Now look at me. I have gray hair. I'll be 65 years old in January. There's no way I'm going to wax a box now. I will outlive. Yeah, look at those two boxes. Can you see them? The two supers on top over there, raw wood, just like this video is raw, unedited. That box is over there, and over there on the other side, raw wood. I'm old enough and I live in Illinois, so we don't have real bad humidity problems, but it's fine just to put raw boxes out there for me. I don't paint them or anything sometimes. I think sometimes if I was 20 years old and I lived in the deep south where humidity just grinds up wood, I'd probably want them waxed, probably would. Or I'd have to stay painting them quite a bit too. Yeah, that's a good question. Sometimes you can find people to do it for you. Take it over there and pay them to wax them for you. Hi David, how long should you freeze frames that have wax moth larvae? Good question, depends on your freezer. Sometimes when you take, let's say you have a big freezer and you're gonna put your whole 10 frame super in there at once, all the heat contained in that box will reduce the temperature or increase the temperature in your freezer. And takes it up pretty high depending on how many boxes you put in there. But let's say to be safe, I'd leave it in there 3 days. By 3 days, it's gonna be cold enough in there to have killed everything. 3 days. That's a great way to control the greater wax moth, that's for sure. Boy, did I get through all my questions? Let's see. I'm gonna look through here real quick. I think I did. I did get a little confused on my pages here. There was a lot of pages. Okay. All right. Yep. Okay. That went a lot faster than I thought. Yeah, I got it. Wow. Good for me. When they told me I had 20 plus questions left over, I was like, wow, that's going to be a long video. But that's great. I appreciate that. I want to tell you guys, I'm going to be going to Eastern Apicultural Society's meeting. I always have since 2009. I've been going out to EAS. It's in a different state every year. This year it's out in Maryland, and I'm looking forward to going out there. And what my major role is assisting with the testing of the Certified Master Beekeeper candidates. I think we have, I don't remember how many candidates right now. I don't have my data sheet in front of me. But I know that I'm I'm the team leader of the field tests. And I think we have 19 candidates that are taking or retaking their field tests. Hey, by the way this works, some people have wanted to become a certified master beekeeper. And if you want to do it through the EAS, the oldest grandfather type certification program, EAS does not have any type of study program. They don't take you through journeyman apprenticeship. They don't roll you through any kind of academic study things. EAS has always been a testing organization for master beekeepers. So in other words, you show up and you basically say, I know everything there is to know, past history and past things of beekeeping and present things, modern things in beekeeping. I know all about bees, pests, diseases, treatments, equipment, all the equipment from the past, in the present, each piece of item of equipment. I know everything about bees and beekeeping in general. I mean, I know it all. So test me. That's essentially what it is. I'm not beating around the bush about it. You can be asked anything that's related to beekeeping. On your oral test in front of 3 master beekeepers that will throw questions at you, you can be asked anything on a written test. You can be asked anything in the lab. You can be shown different things in the lab. For example, I was shown in my lab, there was I don't know how many stations. You walk through and they say, identify this, what are the causes, what would you do to prevent it, what is this item, how is it used? It's never just, what is it? It's always something like, what is it, how is it used, and how would you prevent this from destroying a colony? It's always more complex, you know. Anyway, at one station, there was a triangular shaped piece of wax foundation. By that I mean like the kind we used to use before there was plastic foundation, and it was cut as a triangle. And the question was, what do you do with this? What is this used for? And who was the person who invented the use? A triangular shaped piece of foundation. Oh my gosh. Oh wow. So I looked at it forever. Now I passed the lab, but I looked at that forever. And the only thing, I just had to take a guess at it, that maybe you put a wick in there and roll it up, make a candle out of it, right? And that was worth half of the points. I got that much right. Who the person was that invented that, I had no idea. So I lost half the points there. But that's what I'm saying. So anyway, that's what I'm doing all next week. I'll be assisting in the oral tests, and I'll be overseeing the field test of 19 candidates. And so that's going to be fun. I look forward to that. I see all my friends again, nice, lovely people that I always like spending time with at EAS that are fellow master beekeepers around the country. So that's always a fun thing. So if you're interested in becoming a certified master beekeeper, what it does, it really does drive you deep into beekeeping. So if you're somebody that's a little frustrated that you're not motivated very strongly to learn more about bees, that's why I really went into it to become certified, because I was teaching classes and I wanted to really dive deeper and I wanted something to force me into really drilling down into science and biology with honeybees and get deeper into it. So I spent a couple of years really studying hard to know more so I could be a certified master beekeeper. And so, yeah, so you might want to consider that. I think we start taking applications for 2025 after the first of the year. So just go to Eastern Apicultural, EAS, Eastern Apicultural Society, and check out their website, look under Master Beekeeper Program. It's a challenge. I think if you really want to, you know, it's inspiring once you achieve it. I mean, it's unbelievable once you achieve it, because it's no easy task at all. I'm not going to lie to you. A lot of people I've tested candidates now since I think 2010, and there's a lot of crying going on. Sometimes there's a little anger, but there's a lot of crying, because you really think you know it, and then you show up and sometimes you don't. And but there's 4 tests, and so if you passed any of these, then you don't have to take them again. And so the next year, when you go back and try again, you only take the tests that you didn't pass. And you have 5 years to pass all 4 tests. After 5 years, it's time to start over. But you know, that's not bad if you can kind of just approach it that way. This year I hope to pass 1 or 2, and then next year maybe I'll get the other 2. Maybe it'd take me 3 or 4 years to get it. That's okay. It's hard. It's not easy at all. If it was easy, everybody'd be a certified master beekeeper, you know. So that's something to think about if you're wanting to really expand your knowledge base. And I would tell you this, if you're really wanting to pursue this, if I've kind of intrigued you, and you're not already an entomologist or a bee inspector, a bee scientist, if that's not where you're at right now, you're maybe a beekeeper that wants to know more, look, go ahead and study as much as possible, but go ahead and jump into the test, because you've got to go at least the first time to feel, what are they looking for? How does the process work? What kind of questions are they asking? What does it feel like to stand before 3 people and get asked questions on the fly with no notes, no books or anything? And I have to stand there, you know, what does that feel like? You've got to get used to that. So sometimes, you know, especially for beekeepers that are, you know, just not have been in college recently, and you know, I was 49 when I started it, so I'd been out of college a long time of the habit of study and such, but that might be good to jump in there and just see what it feels like, because it can be intimidating. I would say, as much as we try to relax the candidates, they it's hard not to feel the pressure of being tested. And I don't like that. I wish each candidate could relax and enjoy the experience, but I was there once and I was intimidated. I felt intimidated. I felt pressured. I felt like I was being interrogated. It's like uncomfortable, I would say. And I've been involved in some very uncomfortable situations prior to that, where I had to spend a career in conflict and in front of people and all. So, but it's still, that's a different environment. So, you know, it's not bad if you're used to that. It's an enjoyable experience. But I'm still making videos all next week. I've got videos in the hopper. They're scheduled to go out. So even though I'm going to be at EAS, I am still publishing videos every other day or so. Plus, I'm still going to attempt to do my live stream next Thursday, even though I'll be over in Maryland. As long as I can get some Wi-Fi going up, yeah, I'll be doing my live stream next Thursday. I'll keep you posted, but hope you join me for that. Now, if you didn't see the live stream last night, you missed my great teaching that I shared with you guys. Things you should be doing in the month of August. The month of August is, like I said in this teaching, is the time that, you got to do something now, okay? It's August, people. And so beekeepers can't slack off anymore. Winter's coming, and I gave a great teaching about the things you need to be thinking about, how to evaluate your hive in August, and how to take the next steps to get your bees ready for winter, and starts in the month of August. And watch this video right here. I think it's going to help you a lot. Thanks for watching. See you over there.